Welcome back into Buccaneers Total Access first half of the show. We had head coach Todd Bowles. Now I'm so excited to be joined by assistant secondary coach Rashad Johnson. Rashad, thanks for being with us.
Yeah, of course, Casey. Thanks for having me.
Man, and you get so many brownie points with me coming in on the short week after the Sunday Night Football, no rest, going into the holidays and a loss. So I really do appreciate it. And just tell me that a game like that, any loss is hard, but especially when it has such implications on the playoff run. It's a last second, you're fighting till the end. There's just so many elements of it that I'm sure make it tough. What's the message to the team after a game like that?
Yeah, message to the team after, a tough loss like that on the road, everything in your hands. You just got to tell them to go back to work. That's all you can do in a moment like this. You can't look at last night. You can look at the mistakes, see how we can maximize and capitalize and erase the things that we couldn't do in the moments and make those plays that we would like to make, get off the field on third down, convert some of those fourth downs on offense. So just take those opportunities and work on them this week and just say, hey, let's dive back in and let's get back to work. That's the only thing you can do. Everything we want to do is in front of us, 2 games ahead, and do what we got to do.
Yeah, and I know also something I heard Coach Bowles say multiple times after this game and a few other times during the season is just the tackling. And It's tough when I know that's not something y'all can really do in practice. So what are the ways that, you were a player and now also as a coach, the ways that can get improved or some of these things that are tough to practice but need to get worked on?
Yeah, tackling is definitely something that's very hard, to kind of to do or mimic if you're not doing it live all the time, but the best way to do it is to do it during practice where you step on the guy's toes is what we call it. And when you come through the line, you step on their toes, you open up and you tag the hip. It's all about targeting the hip. It's all about angles. And a lot of things with tackling, if you look at the film and you watch the game, is understanding leverage. Where's my help? At times when you miss tackles, guys are going to be great athletes on the other side. It's going to happen. That's part of the game. But am I leveraging the ball that when I miss the tackle, I'm sending it back to my help, or when I'm missing a tackle, I'm cutting off the rest of my help? So those are a lot of things that you got to look at and understand when you're going in to tackle and you're working on the element. And we got to understand as well, tackling is not a one-man thing. Tackling is a group effort. So the more guys we can get to the ball, the more guys we can get around the ball, the better opportunity we got to get them on the ground.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know also early in the game, they scored on 5 of their first 6 drives, which partially it's because they have a kicker who can kick from the moon, where some of those might have been things that other teams are punting on at that point. But what seemed like defensively wasn't working quite as well early in the game? Yeah,
the biggest thing there was first down. They were converting on first down, making their third downs really convertible. They were 3rd and 2 a lot of the times on that first half. I think they were 5 out of 8, on third down, and 3 or 4 of those were 3rd and 2 or 3rd and 3, just short yardage downs. That means on first down that they're winning the down. Just sending guys down the field, checking it down to the running back, getting 5 or 6 yards. Then on second down, kind of having the defense on their heels because they can run it or pass it in that moment to get it to a 3rd and manageable. So they were getting it to favorable third down situations. And then the other element of it was when we did have them 3rd and long and we had opportunity to get off the field, we go back to the thing you just talked about, tackling. We had a chance, 3rd and 10, missed a tackle, convert a first down, going down that drive and score a touchdown. Those are points that we keep off the board. In a 3-point game, we win this game. And then ultimately, at the end of the half as well. 2 minutes is such a critical part of the game. 70, 80% of the games, if you can score right before the half, you end up winning those games. So as a defense, have to do a better job of keeping them from getting an opportunity to kick 3 in those moments when you have them backed up.
Yeah, and I know also, though, man, I mean, you guys were able to hold them to just 3 points in the second half. And it feels like there's been a few times this year where we've seen this of first half to second half or, second quarter and things like that. What are the adjustments you feel like you guys were able to make in this game, or what it says about, either Coach Bowles, the other coaches, the players, that you guys have been able to take these and do a pretty big turnaround at half? Yeah,
it says 2 things. It's a twofold thing when you talk about that. For one, it says that, we got to do a better job starting. You go back to the Chargers game, we gave up some big plays in that game that ended up giving up points, 17 points in the first half. Then the second half, we make the adjustments. Hey, we're not going to give up the big plays. We're going to get off the field, which we did a great job on third down against them doing that. And then this week, hey, first down, we got to do better first down. And then when we get the third down opportunities, we got to rally to the ball. We got to get them off the field. And you saw that late with Vita Vea coming out of the middle, on a huge third down, making a play outside the numbers. Guys making those adjustments and understanding what we got to do. So, it's twofold. We got to do better to start, but we're doing a great job making the adjustments. Now we just put them all together to complete the 60-minute ball game that you want to do. Haven't played our best ball. The good thing about it, we got 2 games ahead of us to put it together. And, fingers crossed that everything else falls in its place, and we'll handle the business from there.
Yeah, and I know CeeDee Lamb, I mean, we knew he's a He's a tough one to cover. What do you feel like you guys learned watching that, and what were the struggles in trying to face a guy like him?
Yeah, just first thing we learned is, just got to do a better job with a guy like that at the line. There's times to where, he was able to move us off the spot. We weren't, as confident in our hands looking in the backfield. It's small technique things that you can fix, but sometimes when you're going against a better athlete, you begin to press at times. And you get to come outside of your box at times when you got the skill set and you got the ability to get the job done. So just getting those guys back to balance, calming them down. Wish they did a better job in the second half. Obviously, he didn't play as much, but we did a better job in the second half manning those plays and understanding those one-on-one opportunities and not giving up the big shots that we gave in the first half. Yeah,
and just thinking about the whole mindset of how you approach a game. The Cowboys had found out that they were eliminated before the game, and it seemed like they were therefore able to play kind of just loose and enjoying it. And it's been, I know, tough these last few weeks of where it's been like the playoffs almost for so long. You've got all these must-win games. And do you feel like there is a bit of it where the guys are pressing a bit, or is there, what is that ideal mindset as you're trying to approach these games where it's been a lot of, and now it definitely is all these must-win situations?
Well, the ideal mindset is to approach every game the same. That's something that I learned in college, under Coach Saban. That's something that I was reminded of with Bruce Arians and here with Todd Bowles as well during my time in tenure. We approach every game the same. It's not a playoff game, at the end of the season. It's a playoff game in September. You got to win in September for them to matter in December, and then December you got to win in order for people to remember you later on in January. So they all matter. They're all playoff games. For us, we just got to make sure we're honing in on the details, sticking to the fundamentals of who we are, and not quitting. These are games that we all have been able to win. We know the NFL are going to be close games. Finding a way to make those plays with the guys that we got, we've been able to make those plays, look back on that, and just continue to push forward.
We're talking to assistant secondary coach Rashad Johnson. Tell me specifically about Zion and Jamel's games. What are some of the things you noticed about them?
Yeah, Zion McCollum, I really enjoy his game. He's a guy that plays a high effort. He's an IQ guy as well, understands, what teams are trying to do against him. He does a really good job of making in-game adjustments as well. You can talk to him on the sideline. He's very personable in understanding what you're trying to say and making those adjustments and talking your language. He has tremendous ball skills as well. He's got over, 10 pass breakups, a couple interceptions. So really love that aspect of his game. He's a physical corner as well. He doesn't mind sticking his face in there and tackling with a big presence for us. So he's stepped up and, had a really, nice year for us. So really excited about Zion and everything he has for us moving forward. And then Jamel, just a guy that's a leader, a quiet leader amongst, the guys, but he does it with his work. He's a guy that shows up, week in and week out, trying to lead the guys with the right way. He's had some few injuries this year, didn't let it hold him back, was still in the room, still a guy, that was around the guys and giving them the things they needed, during that time. So you just enjoy when you have good guys, great character in the room, that's going to play hard week in and week out for you. So, I love Jamel's game as well in terms of his physicality, to come up in the run game and play on the outside and his long arms to affect the routes at the line of scrimmage. We want to do, those things at the top of the line all the time. So just continue to hone on those details to where he can be, elite at that because he has the skill set and the link to do that.
I don't know. There's I know you played defensive backs, but there's some stereotypes occasionally, especially about some outside corners, about some DBs. Jamel and Zion do not seem to fit any of those stereotypes. What is that kind of meant to have guys like them that are so much more, I feel like, how about low-key than a lot of other...
like not prima donnas,
right.
not just flashy,
I didn't say it, but, What has that meant to the room and to have guys like that in those positions specifically?
No, it means a lot, because like you said, those guys are sometimes, the five-star, high-quality, big pub guys, and sometimes, the outside noise can influence the inside work. And the inside relationships, they begin to think too much of themselves and too big of the organization. It's an I thing at sometimes. But this organization has done a great job with the guys that we have, that have great character, like Jamel, Dean, and Zion, who are open to the guys, who are willing to give them what they know, not worried about, hey, can they take my job or hey, can they push me out the door? Understanding this is a collective effort. If I win, and they win, we all win. And that's going to make us a better team, at the end of the day, because our starters aren't going to play the whole season. We know that. Unfortunately, somebody's going to get hurt. It's a violent game that we play. So the better off that I can impart into these other guys and make them able to play, the better we're going to be. And those guys see that, and they do a great job with that.
And then I know also coming into the game, we got Mike Edwards back. He'd been injured a little bit. And then Kavon Maryweather was also in there. He'd come back from the Lions practice squad. What were the plans of how you guys wanted to use each of them, and then how that got changed a little bit when Maryweather went down in the game?
Yeah, so typically the plan was Maryweather, more of a interior box safety, a guy that's physical in the run, does a really good job of understanding the blocking schemes, two-back run game, and does a good job at that. So, just try to play him a lot in the earlier downs, closer to the line, where he can be comfortable. And then we all understand Mike Edwards' ball skills that he has. The ball just seems to find him. There's guys in the league that happens to, and he just happens to be one of them. But it's not by luck. It's because he understands the process. He has, a special gift. Gifting comes with getting the ball. Those are different guys that play the game. Some are physical hitters. Some are trackers of the ball. Some are just intelligent to help other guys get lined up. But you have to understand your gifting. And I think that's what Todd Bowles does the best in terms of his players and being around them and understanding our gifting and how to put them in the right place. So Mike Edwards is in on passing downs and opportunities to where he can make those plays on the ball. And he done a tremendous job on that 3rd and 9 when they ran the toss sweep to come down the lane and making a play on a tackle. So I would just, commend, Todd by using the guys in the best way that he can and then getting the most out of them in those situations as well, because a lot of times guys don't want to rotate that way. They want to play the whole time, but our guys are unselfish and they buy into what we do, and I really enjoy that.
That's really cool. And also, the injuries this year, it's just been wild in the secondary. There has not been a full game where you guys had all the intended starters play the whole game together. The first game of the year was the only time they've all started together. They didn't finish that game. That is an incredible thing to be here now, only a couple weeks away from the end of the regular season. How difficult is that for this unit? Because we hear a lot about the idea of the communication and chemistry for the O-line.
Yeah.
But how wild has it been for you guys as coaches to try to make a different group every week mesh together?
Yeah, it's just, part of the journey that we're on. And, you take on those tasks. Each year is different in this league, that you understand that those injuries are going to happen. But, we just done a collective effort, with Coach Rapone, myself, Tim, Coach Rock, just coming together and what's best for the guys. What's the best way to get this job done? Tyreek may, be a nickel back, maybe a guy that I'm coaching, but he may have to play more safety this week. Well, you can spend more time with Coach Rapone this week and doing the things that you need to learn on that side. So when we do come back together, that we're where we need to be. So it's just been a collective effort of moving the guys around, doing what we have to do, and guys being willing to do that. Christian Zyon, who's moved around from safety, to nickel, and then had to play some corner for us as well early on. So it just speaks a lot to be able to do that as well in terms of just our scouting department to grab guys that can play multiple positions. In this league, a lot of times you get stuck in one spot. He can only play corner, or he can only play nickel, or he can only play safety. We have a versatile group of guys that actually can move around, play different positions, and I think that's very, smart and commemorative on the scouting department to do that, understanding that guys can go down at any moment, and you got to be able to plug and play in this league and not miss a beat. And I think we've been able to do that. Obviously not played up to our level of standard the entire season, but we started to hit our strides here after the bye and trying to, continue to stay in that mode.
Yeah, after this, I imagine that the scouting department's going to want players to play all 11 positions on the field. We just never know what we might need here. Yeah. All right, we're going to take a quick break here on Buccaneers Total Access. We are brought to you by Advent Health. This is Buccaneers Radio. Welcome back into Buccaneers Total Access. We are joined by assistant secondary coach Rashad Johnson. We were just before the break, you brought up Christian Zyon, which I'm so glad you did. First of all, he led the team with a career-high 13 tackles in the game yesterday. And I know you have worked really closely, especially last year, worked a lot with the nickel spot and with Zyon and getting him ready. And so to hear just him stepping into that nickel role last year as this undrafted, free agent guy, and knowing Bowles asked a lot of that position. Yeah. And then now, again, like you mentioned, he's just been this little Swiss Army knife all over the place. Yeah. So tell me what stands out to you about Christian, and explain to people how hard what he's had to do actually is.
Yeah, the biggest thing that stands out to me is going to be his character. For a guy to come in, play 16 games, last year, 17 games as a starter at a position, and then to see another guy get drafted, to possibly play that position like that, sometimes that can cause some friction. For him, came back into the building, just worked hard, continued to take the roles, take the plays, understand the assignment, and then when his numbers was called, was ready to play. So, a guy of high character, of high work ethic, and a guy that's dependable, that you can count on. So, for what he did, on the mental part, just from that, speaks volumes to him, but also just to be able to play multiple positions, like you said, from safety room to nickel back. Those are two totally different skill sets and viewpoints from the ball game that you're watching the game and how you're fitting it and positioning yourselves. So for him to be able to take what he learned from nickel, apply it to now what he's doing at safety, and grow in that position, it's been, really fun to watch him, just grow and mature into the player that he is. And I mean, the guy has a really bright future because he lights it up on special teams as well, as a gunner, if he has to do that as well. So just really bright future and a really great, pickup as an undrafted, free agent.
Yeah, that's wild. And tell me a little bit about some of the things that Bowles wants out of the different positions within his secondary of the outside guys, which he seems to have a definite body type he goes for on that, and then the nickel and how challenging it is, and then the different types of safeties, as you talked about the ways all these guys are getting used. Specifically for his defense, what are some of the challenges and things he asks of these different guys and position groups?
Yeah, just I guess starting from the outside, at that corner position, those guys are going to be placed in some difficult positions, some one-on-one opportunities a lot of the times because he's going to want to put pressure on the quarterback. And, the way to do that is to bring more guys than they can block, for one. So that's going to leave you in one-on-one opportunities. So you got to be a guy, that can handle the pressure for one. You got to be great at the line and press coverage because you want to knock off the timing of the routes that the quarterback and the receiver are trying to do. And then the third thing is that you want to have great ball skills. If you don't have great ball skills, then you can be in great position. You're not going to be able to make the play. So that's the third thing we're looking for. And then obviously, the fourth thing you want to have is to be able to tackle. There's going to be times where you're going to be called upon to be in the run game and get involved. And we have guys that can do that. So from the outside, those are hard tasks, very difficult tasks, and a lot of weight is on their shoulders because they're going to get called, cover one, cover zeros, fire zones in critical situations, get us off the field, make the play. And then you move back, into the nickel role. This guy, has to be able to do some of the similar things they do outside in terms of playing man-to-man, but also being able to play vision zone. That means to be able to spot drop, see the quarterback, break on the angles, and make plays and read routes through combinations. 2 to the flat, I'm getting an inside route by 1. Understanding those type of things from a nickel position, but also be able to blitz. So he's kind of like a corner, safety, backer, all in one position and one player. So it's just a really cool, skill set that player has to have and be able to do and bring to the table in our defense. And then the safeties, there's 2 different types. A guy that can play in the run game, a true run fitter, a forcer in that nature, like a Jordan Whitehead, a Kavon Maryweather. And then you got a rangy guy in the back end that can make plays on the ball, and flip guys upside down and make those open field tackles, like Antoine Winfield or Christian Zyon. So, just those different skill sets. And I think also from the safety position, you got to be a very great communicator, because we change a lot. We have multiples within our defense. There's different things and indicators that drive what we're calling and what we're trying to do on the back end because we want to put ourselves in the best position, each and every time we're out there. So you got to be great communicators to get everybody on the same page, and you got to be able to handle the weight if it doesn't go that way, which is okay. We'll press on and we'll get the next one.
I love it. That's great. And we're talking to assistant secondary coach Rashad Johnson. I want to talk a little bit more about Tyreek Smith because he's been this rookie class overall. I mean, we've watched how, Jalen McMillan, Bucky Irving doing amazing things on that side of the ball, Graham Barton holding it down in the line. Tyreek on the defensive side has just done such amazing things and has earned some praises from Coach Bowles when that's not always a forthcoming thing, particularly publicly into the media of right out the gate talking about his IQ and the way that he wasn't even having to treat him like a rookie.
No doubt.
How did you see that come in? And when you guys were looking at Tyreek and scouting him and looking at his tape, I know it's going to pain you to praise a Georgia guy here. I'm sure that your Alabama self is hurting here. But tell me what you'd noticed about Tyreek as you were scouting him and then once he got in the building.
Yeah, just when I was watching his tape, he jumped off the screen because he could do multiple things. He was very physical in the run game. You could see his presence there, strong hands. He's knocking off tight ends, taking on offensive linemen, and then making the plays on the perimeter with very great skilled players, at Alabama and Tennessee and different schools that he's playing against. And then not only that, you're seeing him now blitz the quarterback, affecting the pass game in that aspect, and then making plays on the ball down the field, whether it's pass breakups or interceptions. His numbers, each and every year, whether he was at West Virginia, or at Georgia, he was progressively getting better, and that's something you love to see. And then we had the opportunity to bring him in on the visit and sit down with the guy and just talk to him. You could tell, man, he's all ball. And for me, like, I love guys that love ball, because this game is hard. As much as people think, like, the NFL is something that's just glamorous and it's a wonderful thing to do, like, you really have to love it in order to be great at it and to be able to sustain in it. So for me, I want to look for guys that love the game, and it was simple to see that he had a drive to love it. And I don't have a problem praising this UGA guy because Kirby Smart, who was a Bama guy. I guess he was a UGA guy before that, but a Bama guy,
Of course. It all comes back to being Alabama is what caused all the good things. That's what that sounds about right. I love it. And now I know also with Jordan Whitehead coming back this year, you were ships passing in the night with him of you joined the Bucs essentially right as he was leaving for the Jets, and then now he came back. So what did you know about him prior to him coming back now? And then the player that we got, this time is what you've heard for the first time, some of the ways that maybe he's grown and learned even since leaving us.
Yeah, I mean, everything I heard about him was like a glue guy, and then when you watch the film, you see why they say that, because he had a motor. He was a guy that was separating people from the ball, that was like sacrificing his body. He had no regard for it in terms of how he was approaching and hitting guys and playing the game like, you love to see guys play it. But he was a guy that was just selfless. And in the same way that he, approached the game then when he came back here, he's been the same exact way. Whatever he's been asked to do, whatever his calling was, he's been able to do that. And I've loved everything about Jordan. He's been a great addition to the locker room, great leader. And even like I said with Dean when he was out in his time, he's been around. He's been helping these young guys. He's in Kavon's ear every day. So it's just been a great pickup to bring him back in the group and bring that energy, motor of a guy that he is, down in and down out.
And then Mike Edwards, same thing. It's so interesting to have multiple guys getting a second stint here. That's not always something that happens. But you brought up the ball hawk part of him. But what are the things that you've noticed about his game and why that's the case? Why he's the guy that it's just wild per snap he plays. How many interceptions he had the first time he was here with us, and just what getting him back could potentially mean, especially with all these injuries.
Yeah, you get a guy back that can, get the ball back for your offense. Like, that's the biggest thing in this game. Like, we want to watch the plays and do all these other things, but we're watching the ball. It's all about the football. And this guy does a great job of being in the right place, understanding route combinations, reading the quarterback out of the middle field, and then not only that, having the ability to make the play. You see guys all the time in position in a PBU. They can't make the play. He's confident in his hands, confident in his ability after the catch as well. So just a tremendous athlete in that aspect. So he's going to be, really good for us going forward as we continue to, make this push, because you're going to have to win it in the air. Guys are going to throw the ball. They're going to win it with their receivers. So we got to have someone on the back end that can help be in those positions and, make some of those takeaways and get our offenses more opportunities to put points on the board. That's what it's going to be about.
All right, we're going to take one more break here on Buccaneers Total Access, brought to you by Advent Health. This is Buccaneers Radio. Welcome back into Buccaneers Total Access. We are talking to assistant secondary coach Rashad Johnson. I know also we had guys like Josh Hayes and Tyreek Thunderberg getting some thrown into the fire reps earlier this season, and I'd love to hear a little bit about their potential, and especially a guy like Tyreek who was hurt most of the preseason and was also an undrafted guy. So what he showed y'all that made you say, hey, we got to put this guy on our roster, when that's a hard road to have earned a spot in. So he and Josh Hayes, what are some of the things that you feel like are their potential that we could see in years moving forward?
Yeah, Tyreek, I'll start there with him. Like you said, a tremendous feat for him to be able to make this team, being injured, during some of that time in training camp. But he came in, he's a guy that the playbook wasn't too much for him. Sometimes when rookies come in, the weight of that playbook is too much. He understood those concepts, was really great on the field in terms of understanding route combinations and making plays in practice. So he showed us a lot of flashes, a lot of things that you like to see that showed that he could trend up and be, possibly a starter, in that outside corner position, and maybe flex some even in a nickel spot, down the road once he gets comfortable there. So just having that two-play dual aspect as well is something that you like about him, as a player. So I think Tyreek has a future in this league. I think he has an opportunity to grow, as a starter, and not possibly to be a potential starter. But, it's all going to be the offseason, the technique work, the small things here and there to grow as a player, that he's still understanding, at this next level. So, we're going to put the work in and just looking forward to see, what happens there. And then, you talk about a guy like Josh Hayes now from, Kansas State, really, really tremendous athlete. Has a great quick twitch, great burst, a physical player, that will hit you. What I loved about him is that he got a chance to play, in a week, didn't play as well as he wanted to, came back the next week against San Francisco and really had a tremendous week. To have 4 pass breakups, that's a lot in one game. Just shows you his ability to close on the ball once it's in the air. So I think for this guy, the more time he gets on the job, the only better he's going to be, in terms of his potential, and the one true potential that I love about him that, every player just doesn't have is that he can line up and he can play man to man. Like you can scrap him up on somebody and say, go play this guy. And every guy can't do that, don't have the skill set to do that. So that's something that, if he hones in and he works, can really separate him, not only, on this team, but I think other cornerbacks throughout this, National Football League.
We're talking to Assistant Secondary Coach Rashad Johnson. Also, whenever we have a coach on here for the first time, we'd love to hear a little bit about your background and how you got to this point. So take us through a little bit of your college career, your NFL career, and the playing days of Rashad.
Oh, okay, the playing days. So former walk-on at the University of Alabama, from a small town, Alabama. I was a running back initially, moved over to safety. Coach Saban became my coach my junior year, which was a tremendous opportunity. I learned a lot from him, how to study the game, how to watch film, how to approach the day-to-day, the process, the team, we before, just all those small things that it takes to be great. And then I was drafted to the Arizona Cardinals, 3rd round, 95th pick. I was able to spend 7 years in Arizona. With a lot of great players. This tremendous staff that's here now was a lot of these coaches was my coaches then in Arizona in 2013, Bruce Arians, Todd Bowles, Coach Rapone, Coach Rock. So so the whole crew, for the most part, Coach Foot, I played with him. Mm-hmm. So, my journey was a fun one. And I finished up in Tennessee with the Titans my 8th year in 2016. After that, I had a little girl and decided to retire. No one called, so it's kind of a little bit of both. So I went in and retired, became a father. And then the next year, I went to the Giants, New York Giants. I started an internship there under Pat Shermer, and Coach James Betcher was the DC at the time, who was also one of my coaches out in Arizona. And then Coach Saban called. Hey, heard you back into coaching. Would you like the opportunity to come back home? And a guy that had been out in the West Coast for 7 years, I'm from the South, wanted to get back close to family. I'm only an hour and a half from home. So moved back to Tuscaloosa, worked there for 3 years, player development, defensive analyst, weight room, I did it all. Everything you could think of, D-line, whatever. So just in there, just working, trying to learn, trying to be a sponge. And then the opportunity came to get an opportunity to come here. I had my second child at that time, and I wanted to get a little bit better lifestyle in terms of the coaching lifestyle with the college life and the recruiting, which now is different. They don't do as much on the road as they used to then when I was there. So got an opportunity to come here and do the internship. And they kept me on here, and it's just been a tremendous journey. I'm just looking forward to continue to help guys, imparting them the things that, I learned through my journey and, try and make them come out on the other end better than I did. That's my ultimate goal, just to give and to serve. So any capacity that I can do that at whatever level I can do that at, I'm just trying to be the best at doing that, and hopefully God takes care of the rest.
I love that. And then also, I know, what was it like to now be coaching alongside people who coached you? Yeah. That's got to be an interesting thing.
Oh, yeah, it's really cool. It goes full circle. It speaks a lot to, handling the season that you're in. Because how you handle the season that you're in is going to birth, opportunities for the next season that you want to be in. So just, being a great player, someone that they can rely on, someone that they could trust, allowed them to say the same thing about me now as a coach and giving me that opportunity. And I'm forever thankful for that, because they didn't have to do that. And I'm going to give them my best, this organization my best. And I'm truly thankful to be around family and friends.
I always love asking players who became coaches this. Did you find some extra empathy for your former coaches once you had to coach?
No doubt. It is much harder than it looks. Man, we just don't listen. We just don't listen.
And now you get to reap the karma has come back around.
Full circle. I am sorry for not listening.
I love that. That's great. What are some of the biggest challenges from adjusting from player to coach?
The biggest challenge probably would be, I would probably say schedule, because player, you can do a lot of things that we do here at home. You know, like when I'm done here as a player, I go home and the extra film that I'm watching, I do it from my home iPad, I do it from my home office, different things of that nature. But we do a lot of our, you know, extra work in office, in time here. So that was probably just the biggest difference for me. But, you know, nothing in terms of just the aspect of the game and learning it, you know, those things were easy to me just from the time being as a player.
So now looking forward to this next week, got a rematch with the Panthers pretty quickly here. That it's always got to be kind of wild when you face a team so close together. How does that change some of the game planning and the fact that both teams are probably pretty similar to they were a few weeks ago?
Yeah, I think sometimes it's better to play, you know, kind of in that short window because you typically go from, you know, the past 3 or 4 game breakdown, and sometimes those things are going to be very similar in terms of what they're doing, haven't, you know, had a chance to break out of, you know, the things that they are similar to or what they're accustomed to. If you're playing them, you know, the beginning of the season to the end of the season, you could possibly be playing 2 totally different teams, you know, from injuries to guys they picked up to guys catching their steam as players too, from rookies to, you know, now not playing as a rookie, you know, 16, 17 weeks into the season. So, but, you know, big game, like you said, NFC opponent, we're going to know each other regardless, especially with Dave being in the building and, you know, being the head coach there now. But this game is going to be, you know, who's going to be the most physical team, who can win the turnover battle, and who can commit to battling through the adversity. There's going to be some ups and downs. There's going to be some waves of the game, but who can sustain and not beat themselves, you know, is going to be the winner of this game, and we got to go out and we got to staple that in.
So what are some of the things you remember most from the last matchup about, let's say, Bryce Young and the way that he has grown a lot over this season? And the Bryce Young we're seeing these 2 matchups here as compared to the guy before he ended up getting benched and now coming back. What did you guys learn about him? Yeah,
I mean, the biggest thing has been, you know, his accuracy in terms of in his decision making. You know, earlier in the season, you know, not as accurate, not making the best decisions, you know, getting the ball out to the guy that's open, trying to force, you know, the pressing early on. And that happens, you know, in the new system, new coach, you know, trying to be that guy. But when you get a chance to sit back, you know, and I had opportunity to be around Bryce at the University of Alabama, so I knew that, you know, he would be a guy that could sit back and bounce back because he had the skill set and the mentality from a great family. And he's done a great job of that, you know, just taking the opportunity to sit back, learn from those mistakes, and now you can tell that he's much more confident in the offense. He has total command of it a lot better, you know, and what lets you know that is how he's ending and finishing games. You know, if you look at the Kansas City game, if you look at, you know, our game, if you know, every game that they basically played in here the past 5 or 6 games, he's driven them down the field and put them in position to win the game, and it's been on the other side that they haven't been able to finish it. So, you know, he's playing tremendous ball. So defensively, you know, we have our hands full with him, you know, and Hubbard in the running game as well, you know, to make sure that we can go out and handle our business on our end, you know, to put us in the best feet to when this thing is all said and done, be where we want to be.
All right. Well, Coach, thank you so much for joining us. We really do appreciate it, and hope you have a wonderful Christmas with the family and spending time. Yeah, we appreciate it. Good luck this next week as well. That's going to do it for us. Thank you guys for listening to us here on Buccaneers Total Access, brought to you by Advent Health. This is Buccaneers Radio.